the city, and it still makes me tear up a little bit.
Sure.
It was just unbelievable. And then, going to the Lower Ninth Ward in April after Katrina, which was 6 months after Katrina, and it looked like a war zone. I mean, there was still cars on top of cars, houses in the middle of the street, houses on top of other houses. It was insane. It felt scary to me to be down here.
One of my memories from growing up in New Orleans is on the schoolyard, which was only about a half a mile from the Mississippi River. As a child, at recess, we'd go out and I'd look, and I'd see these big ships, and I'd have to look up at the ships go by. It was only later that I realized, well, it's something to look up at ships. New Orleans is 5 feet below sea level. And as a young child, you don't realize the extent to which you and the entire city are dependent upon the strength of those levees. Going back to New Orleans for the first time after Katrina, I guess it was November of '05, and the thing that struck me, in addition to just the genuine devastation, was how colorless the city was, because that salt water or brackish water had washed up. It killed all the vegetation. And it's another thing I took for granted, that New Orleans was a colorful city, but everything was brown, and it gave it an eerie aura. This city looked like it was dying.
Well, I think it's I always tell people the thing that makes it best is what holds it back the most. Tremendous sense of history, tremendous pride in the culture, and at the same time an absolute, up until recently, reluctance to change anything. People are very interested in where you went to high school, very interested in what your folks did or didn't do, and that sort of thing. The good news is that mold has begun to change.
I grew up in the 60s and 70s, and my memory was that New Orleans was kind of neck and neck with Houston and Atlanta for the big kahuna in the Deep South as far as cities goes. And that seemed to be still a real competition until the mid-'80s, when the oil and gas industry collapsed. Oil and gas prices fell dramatically. And since the mid-'80s, 85, 86, New Orleans just seemed to deflate. Didn't seem to have the life, didn't seem to have the vibrancy and the hope that it had when I was growing up. And I'm sure that's because of the collapse in oil and gas. I think it had, New Orleans, Louisiana as a whole, has this long tradition of political corruption. Louisiana politics really is it's an old boys network. Corruption is a detriment. It's a drag on economic development. So I think the flexibility that was required when the oil and gas prices fell in the 80s, the flexibility to adopt new policies, the flexibility to encourage new types of entrepreneurship, or at least to be open to new kinds of entrepreneurship, it wasn't there. One of the nice things about New Orleans, one of the interesting, unique things about New Orleans is its European flavor. It's laissez-les-bon temps rouler flavor. But that has a downside. And the entrepreneurial work ethic that many other cities have was not quite as intense in the Big Easy. It caused New Orleanians and Louisianans more generally to turn a blind eye to the corruption and the old boys network. And as long as oil and gas money were flowing in, it's fine. As long as tourist dollars were coming in, that's fine. We'll have a big party and things will be okay. Things weren't okay.
Very little mobility. If you were born there, you live there your entire life and you die there. That has certainly changed in that after Katrina, with the entire city flooded after levees broke, everyone had to move out. You had people who lived in Houston for months, even years, people who lived in Baton Rouge well into 2006, 2007. They got jobs in a lot of cases. They sent their kids to Houston school system, other school systems. They lived in neighborhoods where you had much better infrastructure, much better crime fighting, much more accountable local government services. And they decided, we want to move back to New Orleans. And so that decision meant a lot of work for them, rebuilding houses, uprooting their families again, going back into a city that still has this risk of flooding. So now you have people there that say, I really have put a lot into my house and into my neighborhood, and I want to make sure the city government doesn't screw it all up.
I think that genuinely happened when everybody went to other cities to see what it's like when school systems work, and to see that you don't have to necessarily lock your car doors at night without worrying about it getting broken into, to see some of the things, basic city services, I think people really understood. They gave them a sense of perspective of what's possible and candidly what should be expected.
We have a great mayor in office now, and Mitch Landrieu. The governor and Bobby Jindal has done a lot to help really kind of revitalize the city. The school system, which was a disaster beforehand, the public school system here, completely washed away with this storm, and now you've got a charter school system that's making the grade far better than it was in the past.
When I first went back after Katrina, it looked like a war zone. I remember seeing cars that were perched in trees, living room furniture, even large kitchen appliances on the roof of houses. Everything was brown, and I thought, oh my goodness, this place is destroyed. It'll never come back. It's not only coming back, I think it has come back. And when I visit now, I do sense a kind of vibrancy and gumption that I have to say I didn't really sense prior to Katrina.
Sometimes you just need a little shaking up to get you going, and I think there's this tremendous entrepreneurial activity. There's opportunity here. It's relatively cheap to live here, and so we're becoming more of a magnet for folks to come in. And of course, we have that sort of dynamic culture that you can't get anywhere else.
You know, there was an instant sense of community, there was an instant sense of place, and you literally had the collective voice of, at the time, 250,000 people who came back and stuck their flags in the ground.
I think since Katrina, lots of things have changed. Katrina was kind of a restart. Trying to rethink politics, rethinking our infrastructure, rethinking
the way we run
the city, education.
Prior to the storm, there weren't a lot of opportunities here. A lot of people moved away either to Texas or Atlanta or other places for opportunity. And I think the storm, although it was devastating, created a whole new world of opportunities for people to be here.
New Orleans, where's New Orleans headed? It's going to have everything great that it had before, and some of the problems are going to get fixed. So it's still going to have the culture and the music and the vitality. But the schools are going to get better, and the government's going to be run better. It's not going to lose anything. It's going to get better. And I think there's going to be this tremendous blend of traditional New Orleans families with new, innovative folks who want to build this community to be the best that it can be.